All right, guys. Breaking news for the Houston Texans. It's been like a bad couple of days as a Texan fan. I'm not gonna lie. If you haven't heard yet, obviously the Texans have released C.J. Gardner Johnson after 3 games with the Texans. Now this comes as a bit of a shock. Obviously, when we traded for C.J. Gardner Johnson, I thought it was like a steal. We only gave up Kenyon Green and maybe we had pick swaps. That was really it. For someone of the caliber of C.J. Gardner Johnson, like that was big. But apparently, I mean, you can see it. The whole Texans as a whole, the whole team has been struggling as of recently. Even the defense, partially because the offense is struggling so bad and the offense can't stand out there for like literally any sustained drive at all. So the defense does have to be out there a lot. I think the defense has done well considering how bad the offense has been. But with that said, we have still struggled. In particular, the secondary has struggled in 2 of the 3 games, and the first game in last week against the Jaguars. And it's really comes as a shock because usually when you make a drastic change like this, it's like for a big, huge reason, or like you're just ready to end the season. And I know a lot of Texan fans feel like that the season is over already. It's very rare that a team starts 0-3 and then makes the playoffs. And obviously, as Texan fans, we wanted the playoffs again. We had big hopes. I mean, I had big hopes at least for the Texans this year. But this signals to me that either something was really wrong or that the Texans are done. And I think it will be evident if it is the latter in the next couple of weeks, going into the bye, especially in 2 weeks. But I will say this. From what I've heard and what I've seen, again, this is fresh and new today, and it comes as a surprise. So people are trying to figure out why the Texans released C.J. Gardner Johnson. It seems like he did struggle against the Jags, but also it seems like he's been mad about the way the Texans have been using him, and that he has been just overall unhappy with his current state on this team, and I guess the current state of the team as a whole, which is understandable as far as the latter goes. But as far as the Texans not using him right, I mean, it is what it is. We release him, and it does. I mean, it does suck because I do think C.J. Gardner Johnson is really good. Um, I thought he could have been a really good veteran locker room guy for this team, but it turns out he was the opposite. We'll have to see what comes out in the next couple of weeks. And like I said, it does suck, but at the same time, we do have to look at it as we do have Petrie, we do have Stewart, we do have Kalen Bullock. Jimmy Ward is off the list, the commissioner's exempt list, which is good. The charges were dropped, so he'll be back. I don't think he'll be back next week or the week after, probably. I mean, it could be. But I would expect after the bye, he should be back. So that's good. But yeah, I think C.J. Gardner Johnson was better than Jimmy Ward. Again, has he been struggling? Maybe a little, but the whole Texans, I mean, there's really been no player on the Texans that has like really been good. Besides, I would say Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, who has been getting their sacks, getting their pressures like every single game. Even the run defense has been bad at times. The secondary has gotten cooked a couple of times. The offense we can't even start to talk about, but I'm going to because this is like the main issue. And I haven't made a video on the Texans yet this year. I've been working on more of my live stream stuff, so keep in tune for that. But I want to address how I feel about the Texans after 3 weeks because I feel like I speak for most Texan fans when I say that it is deflating and it is just downright like sad how this Texans team has started this year. Considering the talent we have on paper, it sucks. And I know we can point to literally anyone. You could point to the defense, you could point to the penalties, you could point to the offensive line, you could point to the run game, you could point to Joe Mixon being injured, you could point to Kirk just coming back, you could point to C.J. Stroud still struggling, you could point to Nick Haley. For me, it is very evident that something is very wrong with this offense. I think there's a couple of reasons we've lost these first 3 games. First of all, obviously, the number one reason, the offense as a whole. That includes CJ, that includes Nick Chubb, that includes the running game, that includes the pass protection, that includes the wide receivers, and that includes Nick Haley. Everything about this Texans offense has sucked. Like, it has been atrocious. Even in last week against the Jags. I mean, we had 3 points for the longest time. 3 freaking points. You cannot win football games when you have 3 points like going into the fourth. The Texans in that game against the Jags, there were a couple of times where I could recall that the Texans would have max protection, tight end and a running back in the backfield to protect CJ, and only like two wide receivers going out to get a pass. And even with max protection, still, if the defense throws any type of exotic blitz or any blitz of any kind, the offensive line really struggles, especially in the interior, has struggling like where to block. Like, who do I block when they throw a blitz? It is like astoundingly, like there was at least 2 times where we had max protection, 5 linemen, tight end, and a running back, and then CJ obviously back there. And we would send 3 wide receivers out there, and literally CJ would still get pressured. 2 times I can remember. It is frustrating to see that when you have max protection, because not many guys are going out there to pass. Sometimes only 2 guys. You need to have time to get those guys open. And when you're putting max protection out there and you still cannot block, you know it's bad. The Texans' offense has been really struggling. And I know people can point to Puka Nacua going for over 100, like 150 yards against the Texans. You could point to the Buccaneers' last drive against the Texans, but the defense overall has been decent. They struggled with fouls against the Bucs. Yes, the run game was bad against the Bucs, but they bounced back, and against one of the better rushing teams going into week 3 in the Jags, they held the run game pretty well. So they adjusted, they stopped with the penalties, and they were pretty good against the Jaguars. The Jaguars are much improved, and I will say that. So credit to the Jags for winning that game. Do I think the Texans are a bad team? No. Do I think 0-3 represents how good of a team we are? No. Even with this offense that is horrendous, I think we're still a pretty average team who could still make the playoffs possibly, but that's a whole nother video if you want to talk about that. If y'all want to see me make a video on that, let me know. If the Texans should just blow up everything or if they should still try to make the playoffs in what is classified as a weak division, but it seems like it's a little stronger than we thought. The offense obviously has been struggling, and that's the main issue. The penalties are still a thing, and that's been something that DeMeco has really not figured out with this team since he's gotten here. And it's been a problem since he's gotten here. The defense has penalties. The offense especially has penalties. And he keeps going on the press conferences and saying, like, okay, we need to fix this. It's inexcusable. It's blah, blah, blah. But he keeps saying that, but you're not putting into action. You're not coaching these guys to where they're not literally, like, having a false start or holding every other play. It's ridiculous. And I get it. I think DeMeco is a great coach. I think he's a great defensive mind, and that's proof in our defense. Again, our defense is pretty average right now, but you cannot blame them for how bad the offense has been. They're out there a lot. The penalties has been a struggle since DeMeco's gotten here, but we've been able to overcome it the past couple of years. As of right now, we have not been able to overcome it. That's still an issue. But the main issue is this offense, and you could point at whoever you want to. For me, here's the thing. There's a couple of things you can point at. You can point it at one, the wide receivers are not getting open. Nico is good, but if the other teams take out Nico, so far Jaden Higgins has not proven to be decent, at least yet. Same thing with Jalen Owell. Same thing with Xavier Hutchinson. Same thing with even Dalton Schultz and Kirk in the one game that we've had with him. Again, that could be based off other things, but it seems like teams have figured out if you take out Nico, if you hold him and maybe double team him, literally there's no one else on this team that's going to get open. It sucks that Tank is out for the year, but that's what it was. We drafted 2 wide receivers and they haven't panned out yet. You could point to there. You could also point to the fact that the offensive line. And the offensive line has been bad, has been really bad again. And I don't know why, if anyone was a Texan fan, and let me know down in the comment section if you actually thought this. Who thought that the Texans' O-line would actually be good this year? I thought best case scenario, they would be average. I said they'd be average. That's what I was hoping for. They have not been that yet. Maybe they can get to that, but that's what I was best case hoping for. But people act like getting rid of our best offensive lineman in Laramie Tunsil and getting rid of a veteran, granted not a great veteran, Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green, who again was terrible, but bringing in guys like Ed Ingram, Laken Tomlinson, Blake Fisher, and not drafting an offensive lineman besides Ariante Arsay, they should have drafted more O-linemen. They didn't have to go get Higgins and Noel. I said that when they drafted, I wanted them to draft O-line. I wanted more bodies in there to compete, but they didn't. And the O-line has still been bad, in pass protection in particular. You could also point to the run game. You could say the offensive line is not creating holes. You could say Nick Chubb is not as good as he used to be. You could also blame the fact that we don't have Joe Mixon and he's out for at least next week. That's also an issue. Like, we cannot get the run game going. And when you can't get the run game going and you can't get easy downs on first and second, third downs become hard. They become third and longs, and it just puts your team in a hole because you have to pass and the teams are ready for it. And they know when we're going to pass, just throw a blitz and literally the line cannot block it. So that's been another issue. You could also point to, which I think most people are pointing to, is Nick Caley. And this is what I want to get into. I think there's two things that need to be addressed here mainly, and you who are pointing fingers at. CJ Stroud and Nick Caley. People are going to point to Nick Caley, and rightfully so. From what I've seen and from what the film I've watched, this offense is not good. You could even see it against the Bucs. They had like multiple times where the run is like literally the same run every single time. It's literally bring the fullback or tight end here, send him in motion, bang, and then run that way and get the extra block. It was the same thing over and over again. They did it against the Jags as well. It's very predictable. It seems very simple, very much like Patriots-esque, which he is from that tree, so it makes sense. But for me, it does not look good. And as I've said, there needs to be changes made. I think the Texans should fire Nick Caley if we don't end up winning the next two games. We're going to go into the bye week after we go against the Titans and the Ravens. If we can beat the Titans and beat the Ravens and go to the bye week 2-3, that is a whole lot better, especially if we beat the Ravens. Like, that'd be big. If we go in winning only one of those games, then we need to fire Nick Caley. Like, sorry, unless we see any improvement. If it's the same old thing, we need to blow it up and try to figure this offense out as soon as possible. See what works with CJ Stroud, see who can fix this offensive line, because Nick Caley has obviously not been the answer. But that's been another thing I want to talk about. It's time to start at least considering accepting the fact that CJ may not be as good as we thought he was. And I would make a video on this. This would be like a whole nother video. If y'all want to see it, let me know down in the comment section below. I will go more in depth on why we maybe should start considering CJ's not the guy, why we should look to maybe not extend him, maybe look to tank this year, get someone like, who knows, Arch Manning, Dante Moore, whoever in the next draft. But I don't know if CJ's the guy. Maybe we go out and get a veteran. There's a lot of reasons and there's a lot of things that even from the day we drafted him that I was concerned about, and maybe it's time to start discussing is it CJ? Like, seriously, is it CJ's fault that this offense is so bad? Not all his fault, obviously. This offense is broken, and it's not one person's fault, but I don't know if CJ's that guy. If y'all want to know my thoughts on that, if y'all want me to make a video on that, let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to make the video if y'all are willing to hear it. If y'all don't want to hear it, I don't necessarily want to put that bad energy out there because I have my thoughts on CJ, but I'm still hopeful. I still really like the guy. I really hope he can turn it around. But for a year and a half now, a year and going into 3 games this year, he has been bad. Like, he's been bad. And we need to start considering that maybe he is part of the problem too. Not start just by saying, oh, the offensive line's so bad and he has no wide receivers out there, he has no run game. Maybe CJ's not that good either. That's just something that I don't want to consider, but I think we have to consider as Texans fans at this point. So, this was me just kind of rambling on about how I'm just really upset with the Texans. The CJ Gardner Johnson news is tough because it does kind of seem like we're just giving up, but you know what, maybe it's for the best. Let me know down in the comment section below if you think the Texans should just blow it up, especially after the release of CJ Gardner Johnson, and any thoughts, any agreement you have with me. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'd love to respond.